Welcome to the next training part for the controlling module. Today's topic for training is profit center planning. Now let's see what are the table of contents that we'll be covering in this. We'll be covering introduction on profit center planning, configuration steps, and unit testing. Introduction. Planning is a combination of top-bottom, bottom-up planning on several aggregation levels. Profit center planning forms part of corporate planning. Profit center planning can be done with the combination of profit centers against GL accounts for a given period or for a particular fiscal year. The principal aim of profit center accounting is to provide data and key figures for the purpose of planning for responsibility areas, that is profit centers. Profit center planning is a process that is handled differently in almost every company. Now, what is profit center? That is what we have already discussed when we covered the profit center accounting part. So to understand what is profit center, what is profit center accounting, you can revisit the profit center accounting training session which we covered earlier. So moving on to the profit center planning part. Profit center planning, as said, provides information about various purposes. You will find information about the integration of profit center planning in short-term corporate planning, the role of profit center accounting in medium-term corporate planning, and separate reconciliation of profit center planning with other areas in the business. So these are the different plannings in which profit center planning plays a very important role. Moving on to the configuration steps. Now on the screen you can find the number of different configuration steps that we will be covering up in the SAP system one by one. So the first one is to install the summary tables, then moving on to the next is defining the plan periods, then plan versions, assigning the plan version to fiscal year, activate line items for planning, define planner profile, and then defining document type for planning, and at last defining number range for plan documents. So these are the different configuration steps which we first need to do it before moving on for the transactions on the profit center planning part. So let's begin with the configuration steps one by one. The first configuration step is to install summary table. Before creating the planner profile and the other configuration steps for profit center planning, there are different GL tables that needs to be activated. And to activate those tables for profit center planning, we need to move on to the first configuration step, that is install summary tables. So let's move on with the help of the path instead of the transaction code. There are two wayouts by which you can go for the configuration of this. One is the transaction code, which is on your screen, that is GLPL install. So this is the transaction code which you can directly use it as a shortcut for configuring your install summary table. So let's see on the SAP system, you can directly execute the transaction GLPL install as on the system and enter on it. It will take you to that particular screen for installing the summary tables. So the transaction code is one of the way out for configuring the system for profit center planning, and the another way out of configuring is the path which we have been following from in all the previous configuration steps. So that is what you can see on the screen, that as you executed the transaction, all the different tables were installed. So on the screen there are different tables which have been now installed and which can be used for profit center planning with the general ledger accounts. So this is the transaction code by which we execute it. The other way out of executing this particular install summary table is the path. So to move on to the path, we first need to execute SPRO, enter. Then we need to go to SAP reference IMG. Now in this, once you get the screen over here, we need to go to financial accounting new, expand. So once you expand this over here, now we need to go to general ledger accounting and expand. So within general ledger accounting, now you will find there is planning. Now expand the planning part. So once you expand the planning part, now below you will find over here is the technical help. Within planning, the last option coming up to you is the technical help. So you need to expand the technical help part, and there you find the first step, that is install summary table. So you can do the configuration with the transaction code which is on the presentation file on the screen over here, or the another way out is you can go with the path. So we always prefer the path because you cannot remember all the transaction codes for each of the configuration steps, but yes, you can know the path how you can reach out to that. So now as we are on the screen, this install summary table, you can execute it. So this is the another way out of doing it. So once we executed the transaction, you can see now on the screen that the different tables were installed as on the screen. The program rg_pp_install_all installation of summary table for planning. So this is how you can execute and you can install the tables on your SAP system. And now once you have installed the systems, we will move to the next configuration step, that is define plan periods. So in this activity, define plan period, we can determine the posting periods allowed for entering planning data. You can create permitted posting periods in the form of variants, which can then be assigned to the company code. Now to define the plan periods, the transaction code on the screen is GCP5, or else you can also move up with the path as on the screen. So over here you can see the first option over here for the configuration is plan period. So this is plan period over here on the very first part. The same configuration is a path. You first need to go to the financial accounting new, general ledger accounting new, then planning, and within planning the very first step is define plan periods. So to define the plan periods, now you need to execute the option over here very next to the define plan period. And now once you execute this period as executed as on the screen, you can see now that the various periods have already been defined. So similarly you need to select one of them and then you can copy them. That is one of the options, or the another option is you can even go for a new entries over here on the screen. So it's up to you which of them you want to go for. Suppose we go for the new entries. So now we can go for the new entry over here. We can create a variant. Suppose I create a variant 1000. Then the very next thing you have to do is you have to select the from and to period. So the from period is 1, then year. Year refers to the fiscal year. Suppose I put the fiscal year as 2014, and then to period, that is suppose the whole year from app period 1 to period 12. Then again the 2, then the year 2014. Then you can go to the period 2, and period 2 will be the same as 13. It's very much the same way as the transaction OB52 we used to maintain the periods. So it's the very same one. There is no difference other than that to it. It's very much similar to OB52. So in OB52 we used to select the period 1 from and to range, and the period 2 from and to range. The same thing we have to create it over here. And once you define the version over here with from and to period in the period 1 and in the period 2 from and to dates, then you can save it. And once you will save it, now your periods will be defined. Okay. So we can save the screen over here. So once we save the screen, now you can see the data was saved. So this is how you will be creating your own plan period for the planning part. Now moving on to the next configuration step from the presentation file is define plan versions. The transaction code for plan version is GLPV. Now what is plan version? In plan version you can maintain different plan versions for each ledger account. For each fiscal year you can post plan data to an unlimited number of versions. So you can create different values and you can maintain different planning data with different versions up to your requirements. There can be multiple plan versions that can be created for comparison of plan data. These plan versions let you store separate sets of plan data for the same profit center. And once you maintain different plan data, you can have comparisons on the basis of different parameters for the same profit center. So when you define a plan version, you also have to maintain specific parameters for the applications in which you want to use it. So let's see how we can create a plan version in the SAP system. So moving on to the SAP system now, going back to the path. As you can see over here, the plan version is the second step within the planning. So in that you need to expand this particular plan version, and within that you can find two options over here. So we need to go to the define plan versions part, then executing it, and once executed it will take you to the next screen. And now you can see over here the next screen is over here. So you need to maintain the different values in this. The first one over here is the different ledgers. So there are different ledger accounts whichever you want to maintain for. Suppose you want to maintain it for there are different ledgers, as you can see, OD, OL, OM, 1D, 1L and all. So which of them you want to maintain, you can maintain it as per your requirement, like as we have maintained over here. So you can go to new entries and you can select your particular ledger account. Suppose I select it as OL for Companies Act. Then you need to go to select the version. So the version in most cases always remains 0 because we are planning, and for the versions for planning is always 0 in all the controlling configurations. So that is what you have to select it over here. The next option comes up to you is manual planning. So do you want the system, do you want the users or the system to have manual planning in place? If you want the manual planning option, then you can select this manual planning. The next comes up is the integration planning. Integration planning means to integrating it with the ledger accounts, with different other options within the SAP system. So that is what is also something which you need to select, and then you can define over here the version description. So suppose I define it as profit center planning. You can put the short form, or even you can write it in the shorter part, PC planning. That means profit center planning. So for maintaining the plan version, you need to go to the new, and then you need to select your own ledger account, that is OL. Then you need to maintain the version. The version will always be 0. 0 refers to planning version, and if you select 1, 1 refers to actual version. So for planning you have to take it as 0, then have to select the manual planning and then the integration plan, and then you can put the version description, whatever name you want to give to this particular plan version. Similarly, you can create more and more of such versions depending upon your requirement. There could be multiple versions can be created over here on the system. So it's up to you how many versions you want to create it. So now once you have created it, you can go and you can save this screen, and once you save, your plan version will be created. So once you go to save, the system will ask you for a request. So you need to create a request number, and you can click on to continue, and now you can see that the request has been saved. So the second step, the third step, configuration step has been completed. We have been able to define the plan version successfully in the SAP system. Now moving on to the next configuration step, that is assign plan version to fiscal year. So to define the plan version, assign the plan version to the fiscal year, you now need to go to the path again, and within the path you can now look after to the plan version, and in that you can see the next step over here is fiscal year dependent version parameter. Within that you need to expand the option over here. You can see you need to expand this. So there is the option assign plan version to fiscal year and activate. So the path is very simple. You first need to go to the financial accounting new, then again to general ledger accounting new, then planning, within planning plan version, and then expanding the plan version you will find fiscal year dependent version parameters. Within this you will find expanding, you will find the assign plan version to fiscal year and activate. So once you move on to this particular step, you need to execute this step over here with this symbol. So once you execute this, now you will see over here that the system over here on the screen, you need to create or you need to copy it. Both the options are there with you to assign with the company code. So either you can select this option over here and copy, or even you can go to the new entries. So suppose I go with the new entries, you need to select your ledger account, and suppose the ledger account I selected was this. Then you need to select your version that we selected in the previous step, that is 0 for planning, then the company code, and then the fiscal year. This is what you need to maintain over here to assign with the fiscal year. So this is the fiscal year, and this is your particular plan version which we just defined, and you can save this screen. And once you save this screen, your plan version will be assigned with the fiscal year and will be activated. So this basically activity is about specifying the fiscal year dependent parameters for the plan versions of your ledger accounts, of your ledgers basically. In doing so, you assign the desired fiscal year and the posting period to your plan versions and further activating them. You can also lock a plan version. Suppose you want in the future not to use this particular plan version which you have defined, you can select this lock option and save it. So in that case, this particular plan version will be locked and cannot be used by anyone in the system. So to create, you can maintain these parameters and you can save this screen and you can save it in the request. So the version has been assigned to the fiscal year. But in case you want to lock the versions, you don't want the postings to be done after a number of years as per the management decision or the business decisions, you can go and you can select this lock option over here and save it, and that particular plan version will be locked for that particular fiscal year. So this is how you assign the plan version to the fiscal year and then further activating it. So we are done with the assignment of plan versions. Now moving up to the next configuration now is activation of line items for planning. Activation is required for updating the plan values in FAGL Flaxa tables, which are the new tables from the SAP for the FI values. So in this particular configuration, we determine in the planning if summaries as well as plan line items are to be written. So let's see how we can activate the line items in the new tables which has been provided by SAP on the basis of new GL concept. So moving on to this particular step of activate line item for planning, again we'll be moving up with the SAP path, and the paths are again simple. It's the very next one to the assigned plan version which we just did. So the next comes up is the activate line items for planning. So as you can see over here on the screen as selected, and you can see the cursor over here, you can execute that option of activation of line item. So as I execute it, you can see now a new screen has been generated on the system. So to activate the line items for the new GL tables, you need to fulfill the parameters over here. You have to insert the ledger accounts which you will be selecting. So the ledger account which we will be selecting over here, suppose is OL. So that is what you need to take. Then again the same thing, the version, it will be 0 for planning case, the company code, that is 1000, and then the fiscal year, that is 2014. So once you did all those things, you don't have to do anything else, just execute it, and once you execute, the line items will be activated for this particular version and the ledger. So executing this, so as you can see the message on the screen, as you executed the activate update, the activation of line items have been activated. So you can see the message, the line item update has been activated. So once as you get completed with this activate line item planning, what you can do is you can revisit your last configuration step, that is assign plan version to fiscal year. This was the last step. So as you activate the line item, you will find that there is a change that happens in the configuration of the last part. What is the change? That's what we will be going to have a look at. So as I go back to the last configuration step, that is assign plan version to fiscal year and activate. So executing it now, you can find that the as I activated the line item, your version in this, you will find that this particular option over here, this L line, that is the line item, has been activated. Once at the time we configured the plan version, assigned the plan version with the fiscal year, this particular line item was not activated. But as you go to the next step and you activate the line items, then in that case this line item get activated in the plan version which has been assigned to the fiscal year. So that is what you can go back and you can cross check as well, that whether that particular line item which has been activated in this particular step or not. So once you are done with this part, that means we are done with the first 5 configuration steps. So if you revisit the configuration, we are did with the install summary table. Then next we completed define plan periods, then the plan versions, and then we assigned the plan version to the fiscal year, and at last we activated the line items for planning. Now moving up to the next configuration step is define planner profile. Now the planner profile is used to control the way planning is carried out. In a planner profile, we specify per planning area which planning layout is to be used with which default values. So as said, in a planning profile we specify per planning area which planning layout is to be used with the default values. Per planning area you can create as many planning layout as you require. The profile item determines the order of planning layout within a planning area and can be used to assign the same planning layout to planning profile in the multiple areas. So that we will be we'll look to it in a while. So the planning profile defaults the parameter for which planning is to be done. Let's see how we can create a planner profile in the SAP system. So to create a planner profile, you still have to stick to the same configuration part, and now in this, within the planning, you will find that there is an option of define planner profile. So once you go to this planner profile, you need to execute it. So once I execute the define planner profile, it will take you to the next configuration step. A new pop-up screen will be generated on the screen. As you can see, there are 2 options. One is create or change planner profile, or the second option is display planner profile. So if you have not created the planner profile yet, we need to go to the first step, that is create or change planner profile. So we can double click onto the first option. So as you double click on create or change planner profile, it will take you to the next screen. So as you can see on the screen, there are multiple profiles created by default from the SAP side in the software. Now to create your own profile, what you need to do is you need to select the standard planning profile within these profiles. So the standard planning profile within these are SAP FI GL. That is the standard profile which we will be taking up and will copy it and will create our own profile for profit center planning. So remember, you can create a new one, but the best part is you should use the default provided standard profile from the SAP site. So we'll be copying the SAP FI GL that is highlighted over here on the screen. planner profile for FIGL planning. So you need to select this SAP FIGL, and then we need to go to the option over here very next to the new entries, copy as. So once you click on to the copy as, it will take you to the next screen, as you can see on the screen now, and you can change the profile name over here. So suppose I change the profile name and I make it as SAP FIGL. So everything is just same. I have just added Y at the initial part, just to distinguish that this is my profile. So that is what you need to do. So once you do this, now you can enter on the screen. As you enter, you can see the message being generated. Number of dependent entries copied 17. So whatever the different entries or the customizations are there at the back of the standard planner profile that have been copied in this Y profile now, which has been copied by me. So this is what you need to do. Enter. So once entered, you can see on the screen now that your profile has been copied, as the message has been generated on the bottom. Number of entries copied 1. Now once you have created your profile over here, as you can see that you can save the screen. So save and OK. So the profile has been created. Now moving further with respect to the profile is, you need to select your profile over here. So once you select your profile, you need to go to the right side dialog structure. The next is general planner profile. Very next to that is table which can be planned. So you need to select your profile and then you need to go to this table which can be planned and double click on it. So once you double click on this, it will take you to the next screen. It shows you the table which will be used for the planning part. The next thing which you can do is you can click on to the planning task as well. Okay, nothing is there. Okay, no issues. So what you can do further in this is, so within the table which can be planned, what you need to do is you need to select this GLT0, and instead of this you need to select this and you have to delete it. Once deleted, now enter. You need to add the field over here. So go to new entries and select your own table. That is, the table which we will be using over here is FAGL, or you can select it with the search options over here. So let's see the list of tables on the screen to you. You can find the table over here, FAGL FLEXT. So this is the table which is the new table which we will be using it over here on the screen, and that is what you need to take up over here. Then moving up to the next is, you need to go to the distribution key currency. You can again go to the search options over here on the screen, and you can find that there are multiple distribution keys, as you can see over here. So you have all the options which one you want to go for, whether you want for manual distribution or you want equal distribution or any other distribution by percentage or distribution as before, whatever. So the one which I will be taking up over here is equal distribution. So equal distribution basically refers to that, suppose I put $12,000 as the planning for a particular GL for the whole fiscal, then the system will divide that equally as $1,000 for each periods. So that is what the period is there selected for. Then again you can go for the next option, that is distribution key for quantities. So same way, the same parameters you can search for this also, and the same parameters you will find over here. So again I will be taking up as 1. So it's up to you what kind of a parameter do you need as per your business requirement, and you can select it. So as I added the new table FAGL FLEXT, and then you can go and you can save the screen. So the table has been added. Now if you further want to go, you can select your own table which you have just added, and then you can go to the next option. Within the option is planning task for the table. So double click onto the planning task for the table. As you double click, it will take you to the next screen. So as we selected the table and we went on to the planning task for the table, you will find number of different layouts on the screen to you. Like the first layout is profit center with accounts, then the second is profit center group with accounts. So these are the different parameters on the basis of which you can go for your profit center planning. So this is just to show you that these are the different options which you just get copy when you copy the standard SAP planner over here on it. And that's what we did over here on the screen. So this is how you can create your own planner profile within the system with the help of the different configurations. So now in this way you need to go and you need to select it. I hope it would be easier for you. You need just to select this. Then once you selected the profile by SAP FAGL, you need to go to table which can be planned. So this is the table we added. You can select your own total table, and then you can go to planning task for the table, double click on that, and you will find the different layouts which has been copied from the standard profile, that is SAP FAGL. So this is how you need to create your own planner profile within the SAP system for profit center planning. So this is we are done with the planner profile. Now moving up to the next is define document type for planning. So to create the document type for planning, we need to again go to the steps over here, and the very next step on the screen is define document type for planning. So it is within the same, all the steps are there within the planning part. As you can see within the planning, all the different steps. So the next coming up is define planning document type for planning. Again the path is similar, very same. You need to go to the financial accounting new, then general ledger accounting, planning, and within planning you will find define document type for planning. So once you go to this, you need to execute the document type. So once you go to execute it, and you will see that it takes you to the next screen as on the system. And now in this, as you can see, you need to define your document type. So in most cases the document type which we take is P0. So you can also go to new entries and you can define it as P0. Then you need to take up the description over here. So you can take the description over here as PC planning. Document type, and then you can give your number range over here, what number range you have created. Suppose I take it as 2, and then you can go and save this screen, and your document type will be created. So this is how you need to create your document type. You need to go to the new entries and then you need to select the document type as P0, as the P0 is the one which has been defined on the standard profile which we just created in the last step. You can put the description of the profile over here as per your requirement, as per your convenience, and then again you can go and you can define the number range over here. So which number range you want to assign it to. It could be 0, 2, it could be something else, up to your convenience. So it's a simple part to create a document type. So this is the document type which determines the document number which is generated with the profit center planning, and even it is used for plan assessments and distributions as well. So once you have defined the document type in the system and you have also taken the number range as 0, 2, now the very second step comes up is you need to define the number range for the plan documents. That is, you have to define the number range which you have just assigned on the document type, that is 0, 2. So to create this number range 0, 2, we need to go to the next step. The very next to define document type for planning is define number ranges for plan documents. So within the number range for plan documents, we define the range from and to range, the number range for your planning documents. So this range which we define is the range for planning documents in the general ledger accounting. We specify the following number range details for each company codes, and in this we define or we assign a number interval from which the document number are to be chosen. And the number range over here could be internal or external. That is what by now you could have very much well known with. Whatever the number range you create in the SAP, it could be an internal or it could be an external. So moving up to define number range for plan documents, we now go to execute it, and once we have executed, the system takes you to the next screen as you can see, and within this you need to now go to, so now you need to go to the second part, that is you need to go to the intervals, or in fact you need to go to the groups first over here, maintain groups, and then as you go to the maintain groups part, you will find that there is a P0 as the document type, as you can see over here, and within that you can see over here that the number range 0, 2 has been assigned. And even if you want, you can go and you can check the document over here. So you get to go to this option over here or you can go to the option select, and then you can go to maintain. As you go to maintain, okay, you need to select this GLPC planning, and then you need to go to the groups to maintain. And now once you go to this, I think you need to take care of this very carefully. Let's begin it once again. We first executed this step, define number range for plan documents. Once you executed this, now you need to go to groups over here, maintain groups. So once you click onto the maintain groups, it will take you to the next screen, as you can see over here. So within that, your group is GLPC planning, that is profit center planning. So you need to put the cursor on your group, that is this, anywhere on it. So once you put the cursor over here, now you need to go to the header, that is the group over here, and within that group you will find multiple options over here on the screen: create, maintain, expand and all. So you need to click onto the maintain part now. Now click onto the maintain. So as I click onto the maintain, the system asks you for the company code. So you need to maintain the company code over here. then enter, and the system takes you to the next screen now. Once you move on to the next screen, what you need to do is you need to go to this insert line option over here, and as you click onto the insert option, you can see insert just above the group, and I click onto this insert over here, and the system takes you to the next screen. So over here you can put your number ranges. Suppose I define the year as 2015 and I put the number range from over here, and you can put the number range options. So the fiscal year I took it as 2015, from and to intervals I have assigned. So whatever the planning documents will be generated within the general ledger accounting, the documents will be generated with these number ranges. And once you have done with this, you can go and you can save the screen, and your number range will be created. So a new pop-up screen generated, enter, and you can see now the changes were saved. So this is how you need to create your own number range, which we just talked about. So in this way we are done with all the configuration steps on the screen. We have covered each of every configurations in detail within the SAP system, and the next we will be moving up is the unit testing part, where we'll be looking after how the profit center planning values can be assigned to the general ledger accounts. So moving up next is how we can maintain value for profit center with the GL account in the SAP system. So very first part is the transaction. For that, the planned value, transaction code for that is GP12N. So moving on to the SAP system, we can execute the transaction GP12N, enter, and as you enter, a new pop-up screen is generated, as you can see, and that asks you for the planner profile. So the planner profile is the one which we have created in the SAP system while the configuration steps were being done. So we can go and we can search those with the F4 key on the keyboard, or you can even click onto this option over here, and it will give you the list of all the profiles which are there in the SAP system as of now. So there are different planning profile as over here, so you need to select one which you have created. So suppose I select the planner profile as Y SAP FAGL. So this is how you have selected your planner profile which you have defined while configuring the profit center planning part. Then you can go and click onto this right tick mark or enter on the keyboard. Now once you click onto the enter or the green tick mark, the system takes you to the next pop-up screen. It asks you for the summary table, and the summary table is the new table which is provided by the SAP, which if you remember we have maintained in the planner profile as well, that is FAGL FLEXT. So this is the new GL table which has been provided by SAP, which you have to maintain it over here. Remember it, you have to change the summary table from what it was been reflecting to FAGL FLEXT. Once you have selected this table, if you don't remember the table name, you can go to again the list of options. It will give you the list of all the summary tables as on the screen. You can see different tables, but what we need to select is the general ledger totals. So once you selected the table, then again you have to enter on the screen or the green tick mark, you can click onto that. So the system takes you to the next screen now, and it says the plan data change character. This is the screen where you have to maintain different values for the profit center, for the account number for which you want the profit center plan values to be maintained. So suppose over here, as you can see on the screen, you need to select the period. Now the period can be for one period, or you can maintain the planning data for one particular period, or you can have one quarter or half yearly or for a yearly, as you wish to. Suppose I want to maintain the planning value for first 3 periods. So I can take the period from 1 to 12, and if you want to maintain it for the whole year, you can take it from period 1 to 12. So it's up to your management or your company's decision whether they want to maintain the profit center planning values for the whole fiscal in one go, or they want to maintain it on the basis of quarter to quarter or half yearly, or even for a single period. So I would be taking it as for one quarter from period 1 to 3, or even you can take it from for the whole year. Suppose I take it for the whole fiscal year, that is 1 to 12. Now the next things come up is the profit center. Now which profit center, for which profit center you want the planning values to be maintained, you need to select the profit center. So you can click onto the F4 key on your keyboard, and it will give you the list of all the profit centers. So you can click onto the profit center list. You need to put the controlling area, enter, and you can see now these are the different profit centers on the screen with you. The common profit center, then the profit center for eye drops, for capsules, for different tablets, then again for syrups. So whichever profit center you want, suppose I take the profit center as a common one, that is 1000. The next thing you need to maintain is the company code. Then you need to take up the ledger account, which we used while maintaining the plan period and the plan versions, that is the OL. So you can select the ledger accounts from over here. So I took it as OL. Now again the version is the one, if you remember, 0 refers to planning and 1 refers to the standard version. So you need to select the 0 over here. Then we need to take the fiscal year for which we want to maintain this value, and then the currency, that is USD. Now once you have filled in all these parameters, you need to select the account number for which you want to maintain the profit center, the plan profit center. So suppose I take the value for as from this to, I have taken is 402200 to 2220. So I have taken this range bound from and to for this particular profit center. So once you have selected all these different parameters for which you want to maintain the profit center values with respect to the GL account number, now we need to go to the option over here, as you can see on the header, which is known as the overview screen. As you can see, overview screen is there, then the previous layout and the next layout options over here, tab layout, then the profile and all. So we need to go to the overview screen, and if you want you can use the keyboard key as F5, and as you click onto the overview screen, it takes you to the next screen. So as you see now, it took you to the next screen, and over here now for this profit center, so now we can select the GL account over here. Like suppose I take it as 400220, or even you can select the ledger account from the chart of account. So it gives you the whole list of GL accounts as on the screen. And suppose I want to maintain the planning for advertisement. So I took the GL over here as 402200, and here you can maintain the transaction currency. So suppose I want to plan it over here for 10,000 US dollars. As you can see, the period is 1 to 12. The profit center is 1000, that is a common profit center. Company code 1000. Ledger account is OL. Record type is 1, that is plan. Then version is 0 for profit center planning. Fiscal year 2014. Currency is USD. This is what the parameters we maintained at the screen before this. That is the selection screen, and you need to maintain the account number over here for which you want to maintain the profit center, and here you can assign the profit center value which you want. And now over here you can see the distribution key, that is 2, because we selected the distribution key as 2. 2 refers to distribution as before. So now what you can have assigned the GL with the particular value, you can go and you can save the screen. So your value has been saved. As you can see on the footnote, the planning data posted under document number 100112 ledger account 0L. That means your planning data has been saved and a document number has been generated, that is 10011. Even if you want to see what value you have maintained to your profit center with respect to the GL account, you can even go and you can check those with the header over here. You can go to the planning data and you can click onto this display option over here. So once you click onto the display, you will find that you can click onto this overview and it will take you to the next screen where you have maintained the values. So this is how you can maintain the different planning values. As you can see, the advertisement $10,000 was the value which you maintained as a profit center against the GL account, and its INR currency is this much. So this is how you can maintain the profit center values with respect to the GL account. And if you want to display the plan value, you can go with the transaction GP12NA. So if you go and execute the transaction for displaying the plan value, you need to go to GL12NA, enter. Okay, GP12NA, enter. And over here now again the same parameters you need to fill up for what display you want to. So you can put the period from 1 to 12. You need to take the same profit center, and if you want to see the profit center planning value with respect to the account number, so you need to select the profit center here and you need to define the GL number over here. Once you did it, you need to go to this overview option again over here, as you can see on the header, and click onto that. So you move to the screen, next screen, where you can find that the GL account advertisement has been assigned $10,000 value for the profit center 1000. So this is how you can maintain the different profit center values with respect to the GL account in the SAP system for different GLs with respect to different profit centers. And later on you can have reports for these, on the basis of which you can find different So you can find reports on the basis of which you can compare that what is the actual spent as per the different profit centers with respect to the account number, and what was the planned value against them, and the internal analysis and decisions can be done on the basis of that. So we'll be discussing about those reports in a separate training where we'll be covering all the different reports with respect to the different sub-modules in controlling we covered earlier as well, like the cost element accounting, cost centers, profit center accounting, and internal orders and all. So a separate session will be taken up for different controlling reports for different submodules. So this is what today we are done with the profit center planning part. We'll see you in the next training with a new topic. Till then, thank you.